All right.
Oh, there's a story
Can I
there.
still call it to order if it's the agenda meeting too? I can, right?
Okay.
All right. Switching it up this month. We're going to call the Finance Committee and Agenda Meeting to order for March 11th, 2025. Any motion for that?
No.
Okay. Who do we have? Me, Jess Brennan. John is not here yet. We have Bill McPartland, Jason Moskowitz, Kara Parks. Janet is out. Elena Finnan, Michelle Martinelli, Josh Panisha, Diane Percy. We have Laura Robertson. And, oh no, Eric is here. Look, I crossed you out, but there you are. Hi, good to see you. Jordan, Matt Yeto, Ray Smith. How are you? Good to see you. Right
Sitting in the back with the bad kids.
Okay. All by himself. Well, with Laura.
Oh,
You
yes.
guys are in the background. Okay, so I was out of town last week for these agendas, but we're going to combine them into one agenda for next month for this meeting, and we're going to roll right through today to see how that goes. But we're going to start with the finance items for actions. These are the resolutions that fall under general government and finance. We have a resolution to appoint a member of the board for the Board of Assessment Review. And correct me if I'm wrong, we still have one position open after this one, correct? Okay.
No, we have to make one appointment for the May grievance day. Okay. We haven't made a decision on that. I hope to have talk a little more in detail later in this week.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's it for now.
Okay. So this is the one for the May grievance day or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the training I think is on April 17th, so they have to be on board before then.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. Was that the only one you had on here? I think so.
I think so.
All right. And then we have a resolution, Old Faithful, authorizing budgetary modifications and interfund transfers. Do we have any comments on that? Is it run of the mill or are we leaving it on there just in case we have something? I don't remember.
There will be some, but.
Yeah. Okay. I was actually just talking to Josh about we may or may not need to adjust for the new phone system that we talked about last month. And with that, a resolution to award a contract for a new telephone system. Josh, do you want to talk about that a little bit? No? I mean, we all kind of know, but just to put it out there.
Yeah, it's with Northeast IS. They're formerly Gracecom. Kevin Grace used to run Gracecom. He's a Niski resident. His offices were in Niski up until a little while ago. They're right by the airport now, though. Yeah, and they had the old on-prem phone system that got replaced with the Gabbett one that we have now.
And the phones we're still getting for free, and we're going to be just starting
So
new
he was
service.
nice enough to extend the year-end promo through the end of February, and then we did it then. And yeah, so we got 96 phones for free, which they're like $150 a pop, so it saves a bunch of money.
Nice.
Yeah, and they're fancier and nicer and all that stuff. And I hear the mobile app works with this system.
It's like more than we can.
So yeah, you can actually you can make a call from your cell phone as your desk phone, and it shows up as your work line, not your cell phone line and stuff like that.
That's
So
fantastic.
pretty nice.
All right. I'm looking forward to that. You actually have the next one down here too, which I'm pretty excited about. This is a different person than we had last month, but
Yes.
we have, go ahead.
Third time's the charm. Yeah, we had Kara put the network system engineer job up on Indeed. I got a lot of applications in the first 5 days. I actually had to shut off accepting new ones. We had 96 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, probably 30 of them I phone screened and things of that nature. And then I think we had 10 or 8 in-person interviews.
Wow.
Yeah, you missed an exciting week, Aaron.
I am so sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
that I
it
missed
was
all those
busy.
Interviews.
Luckily nothing broke because I didn't have any time to fix it. So, but
I love that you had such a great response. This is through Indeed because
Yep.
we've been kind of struggling with the best way to advertise.
I think it was like all in. It was like pretty cheap too. It was like $40 or something.
That's what we've been really struggling with is trying to find something that's relatively inexpensive because the newspaper isn't cutting it anymore. Sometimes it gets fed into the bigger ones, but like the bigger online search tools. But
Not an existing list.
Yeah.
within civil service, which is why for accounting, we were also able to go on Indeed, and those employees have been wonderful.
They have. We've really, this has been, you got to keep it going.
Yeah. So his name is Kevin. Great guy. He's in his 40s. Worked at his current job for 8 years or so. The only reason he's leaving is because they got acquired by a place in Connecticut about a year ago, and it's just kind of not the same as, unfortunately, that goes sometimes. So him and a bunch of other people are kind of looking to see what's out there, and we were fortunate enough to grab him, hopefully.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yay.
This is so exciting. All right. That's great. I think those are the only other resolutions. So you're good to go.
Yeah.
We did have a few items for discussion under finance, discussion regarding a stipend for an electrician, which is a little funky. Do you want to speak to that one?
It's in the water and sewer department. There's an existing employee who has been able to help out with electrical matters, saving the town quite a bit of money,
Mm-hmm.
not having to call in a contractor. So, since it's an additional duty, we were hoping to have maybe a stipend on top of his normal pay, just to pay him for his services when they're needed.
And this, because this isn't included in his civil service title, right? So this would be in addition to his regular work. So, and he's saving us a lot of money.
Is it a union member?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to negotiate that with the union.
So like an MOU or or something like that?
An MOU if they agree to it.
Okay.
And he's licensed?
That's going to be my next question.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
I stole their thunder. Okay, so we're going to reach out to CSEA to talk through an MOU to get the stipend set up. If anybody else has any more discussion on that, just for Kara while she reaches out.
And, I mean, there'd have to be a decision as to what that would be, the amount.
What are we thinking? What is, I wouldn't even know where to start with that. So what would be like a reasonable amount?
I think you guys are talking in your office. I don't have a number in mind right now.
I don't have a set number in mind right now either, but.
Why do we want to,
Is
You
it going
guys
to be an
talk-
additional hourly rate, I'm sorry, on top of what the individual is making now?
Flat amount.
right.
Right, but how are we going to do that? Per job, per instance that the person's, doing that work? I know the person, he's very qualified and he has been doing a lot of stuff for us. So I think this is a good idea, but we have to work out the logistics to get it, to do this, to be able to do this.
Do we know if other municipalities do something similar at all? We have kind of a weird setup. So maybe should we start just by kind of floating it by the union to see what their feedback is? And then you guys could kind of talk and then we can float it to everybody up here just to see feedback before the meeting. Does that work? Okay. Great. Okay. We also wanted to talk about purchasing policy and purchasing cards. I knew about the purchasing cards, but would this be specific changes to the purchasing policy because of the cards that we're trying to switch out?
The purchasing card would be issued by our bank, which is JP Morgan Chase, and it would essentially be replacing Home Depot cards, Lowe's cards. I think the other one was Harbor Freight, which we've been having a lot of difficulty getting the bills paid and getting them paid on time. A purchasing card would flow through the accounting office to reconcile. And we would also get cash back from the bank for using it. So what we need to find out, if we're able to go this route, is if we could still make purchases at, say, Lowe's with a tax exempt certificate. So we have to make sure we're not charged tax. If they'll allow us to have an account there or some understanding where we can use our own card, this would be a huge savings.
And
And
help
it would get them paid
quicker.
more quickly, and we've had instances where people are going and there's no more credit line because we don't have receipts from the prior month or it's not ironed out, and it's been Home Depot in particular has been very difficult to pay, believe it or not, so.
And this kind of came up, I think, because of that, we had that grant money for the stuff that we bought from Home Depot for the landscape lighting. And so this sort of created a conversation about other shuffles we've had in the past. So this would benefit us by having the cash back, having one source of information that the comptroller's office is privy to. And then we're all just sort of not doing these individual cards but we're using one card that has complete access by the comptrollers. So no payments are going, unsubmitted. But we just need to iron out the tax exempt stuff.
Right, we have to be able to still get the tax exempt status at those stores, so that may take some ironing out, but, I mean, this seems to be the way, talking to the people at the bank, this is how it's moving, so.
Yeah.
It's hard to pay bills nowadays, like, even National Grid, we send the bill and
It gets misapplied or.
applied to the correct accounts and on a timely basis because we can't pay late fees either. So it would cure a huge headache and the accounting department.
Okay. And so,
You keep the town's chart account open, get recognized as a tax exempt,
Right,
and just don't use the chart account, change the policy to go to the cards,
right,
but leave that account open.
okay.
We do it both ways. I do it both ways.
Okay,
When we
so
get
we
can't
can do
cover,
it.
we can't charge, I use my card.
Ray, can I be wicked annoying and ask you to come up to the microphone to say that just so I can hear? Please, Ray, please. No, but wait, what were you saying? Keep it open, like keeping the account open so that the tax exempt status
Open so that when the person at the register
sees that it's tax exempt.
our tax exempt information's already there, and just pay with the card. Your payment method can be either way.
That's at Home Depot or Lowe's or both?
So
Okay, so what we're saying is keep the accounts open, don't use them, use the bank card, but keep it open so that we can use the tax exempt status.
cashier all the time. and a lot of
Exactly.
people, unless that information is right there, they won't honor the tax exempt. So if you keep the town's account in the name and just use the payment method the other way.
Awesome. Let's,
Actually,
let's confirm.
that's the Lowe's. So they ask you for your tax exempt information first, then they ask you for a separate number for the payment. So,
Oh.
yeah.
Is this, so it's the same thing in both places? Because they probably run into this a lot where it's like you have a tax exempt that's attached to one form of payment. You want to use a tax exempt, but maybe use a different form of payment, which is what we're doing here.
We can bring up our home account, all of our information is there, and it's no question as far as our tax exempt status. So many different people go there, like as a supervisor, and probably Matt too, we could get through that and give them the information they need. People on the job that we send over to pick up incidentals don't have that information.
I think that's where we're running into some issues is that, and sometimes it makes so much more sense for you to send somebody else over there to go grab things and it just, things fall. So if we could keep it that way, we'll just check, double check and make sure that it works that way. And if that's the case, we can leave them open and just, as long as they'll allow us to leave it open.
And worst case scenario, you can bring the tax exempt form with you, like any employee can bring it there and they'd probably call a supervisor and it would take an extra 10 minutes. But in my experience, that would be a good fallback plan to.
Maybe shove a bunch in the trucks or
Mhm.
whatever and see if, just so that there's extras, but we'll try it. So this will be good.
So can we go back to the original question that answers any questions on the purchasing cards, but are we also modifying the purchasing policy?
I think we're going to
Maybe
review it.
For limit on the purchasing card would have to be higher than, say, like a $1,500 credit limit on a Lowe's card or, so we need to look at that to see if we can get that raised to accommodate more purchases.
Does the current purchasing policy limit credit card purchases to 1,500?
I think it limits it less than their purchasing power. So we were trying to align it. We maybe could go through the actual charges to see what they're hitting and if they're, you know what I mean? But I think that's the issue is that
Is this a one-time charge or a charge over a month on a particular card that you're speaking about the limit? Is it a
Good question.
one-time
Yeah,
charge or is it,
Credit limit.
oh, credit limit. Okay.
Yeah.
Would there be a credit limit on ours if it's coming out? Is it a credit card or is it a
On the
debit?
Purchasing card, there would be, we would have to set that.
Okay.
that's a good idea. I want that.
No, definitely. And not only do you set that amount, but you also set categories that are acceptable. So taking it to like Dunkin' Donuts, it's not gonna work. taking it to a Lowe's or a Home Depot, then it works. So we have more power that way. And if there's a question as to whether it's accepted or it's not, Janet or myself would be able to make that call. So it gives us actually more control of that.
Okay, sounds
Yeah,
like we
that's
got
why we
some
need to look.
details
No,
to
I
work
think
out.
that's what it is. It's separate. That's what we were talking about. We're sort of talking about the purchasing card is something separate than a debit card, correct? Like it acts as a credit card to sort of
Right,
insulate you from the actual money in the account,
correct,
correct? Yeah.
yes,
So, but we want to make sure that that's clear
yes,
in the policy as well.
right,
That's really what we're authorizing, not a debit card attached to the bank.
correct.
Okay. Okay, so we need to go over the purchasing policy, see what, and then get that out there to make sure that how we use it makes sense.
Right.
Okay. Okay. The next one is a discussion regarding a change in contract with public sector HR, of whom we've had a relationship with for many years, helping us with our HR-related needs. We'll be adjusting that to an as-needed. Is
It's
that what
already
we're-
been adjusted as of the beginning of the year. We were paying almost $14,000 a year to contract with HR. And what happened was Janet had been reaching out for some training sessions that she wanted us to offer, and we were not, they don't have the time to do it. So that opened up the question, can we use them as needed and get billed hourly as opposed to paying
Flat fee.
$13,800 a year? And that was amenable to them. So right now, we pay $200 an hour as needed. That's really a support for us as HR in the town, not so much for employees to call, but if we come up against something we've never dealt with or we need guidance on, we would then reach out to Ronnie. And
But it-
that's when that would come into play.
Okay, great. So then had already signed a contract for the 14,000 a year, and we have to adjust it from there, or we had?
No, we hadn't,
Okay.
there's no contract now.
Great.
We're being billed as we use the service, which we've used it very little so far this year, so.
Okay, so then do we need any action, like as far as that? Okay,
Can I ask a question?
Clarify that because it used to be that employees could reach out directly to them, but we're really not going to be doing that anymore. It has to come through the HR office.
okay. And we talked about that today.
Yeah.
I'm going to send out an email to all of the employees just to make sure that they know exactly who they can go to. We have 2 different individuals so that, just in case there's any conflict, they at least have 2 different places to kind of bring comments and complaints and anything else HR related that they need to discuss. And if we need a public sector HR, we would reach out to them from there.
Right.
Do we have
Do
any
our-
data about how many times maybe our employees reached out to HR sector to get support?
Good question. I don't know how they track that.
I don't know, but when I talked to Ronnie, she seemed to think that this was better for us to do.
Less
I mean,
expensive.
Much less expensive, and she knows the limitations they're facing right now. They've got quite a few towns as clients, and their time is stretched too thin. So I don't think that it was so much that she would have told me, no, stay with this. I mean, I've known her long enough. I believe.
Right. No, I understand that. I think originally when we brought in HR sector, it was because we wanted our employees to have somewhere to go and get feedback and support and not feel like they were talking to their employer, just like other employees can go to their HR department and that's private and they can get counseled and they can get information. We don't have that here. So that was part of our original reasoning. So I just don't want to take something away if it's getting really utilized or without really considering.
I'd be curious too to see how often employees on their own, without us even knowing, reached out to them. And if that's something that we can still offer on an as-needed basis. I mean, if somebody wanted to speak to them, can we all pay that rate
I
hourly
think
for our
we
employees to
can. I
talk
don't
to them
think that's
directly?
an issue, and I know since I've been here, when that has happened, Ronnie has reached out to me directly, and that happened one time.
Okay.
So
Would we also have the ability to contract with them on an as-needed basis? So like the hourly rate is great for, simple questions or simple projects or filling out a form or whatever the case may be. But if we had a major project where we were rewriting the employee handbook, or
absolutely.
we can contract with them to negotiate a rate for that specific project.
And I would have to look back at the
They did the
original
last one.
contract too, because I know when you do your, employee handbook with them, they do include in that contract any rewrites that are needed. I think there's a time frame
Okay.
in there, but they do, so that should have been part of the prior contract when the handbook was updated.
Yeah, I do recall that sort of. I just don't want to get in a situation where we have to rewrite our handbook or have some sort of major project and it's going to take 2 months and now we're paying them an hourly rate for that.
No,
Correct, period.
I think if we did a major overhaul, we would
That'd be a
either
separate contract.
rely on the prior contract when you did the handbook in the first place, or you would contract with them again
Okay.
to update it. And she does actually send me updates. I've asked her for a couple of updates. I know I asked her for the COVID-19 update for pay, how you pay employees and so forth, which is in effect till the end of July. So she is still like giving me all those updates.
So it's really more just, we save money if we don't end up using it as much. And if we need to use it, it's there.
It
Well,
is there.
And also, I can just add, part of the reason also that we went with them was because we did have a change in comptrollers, and Janet was taking on a lot of the HR responsibility, and I think that that was a separate tool and kind of help for that department. And then when, we got a comptroller in, and now we have a new comptroller in, and a lot of the department heads I have a rapport with, and they'll come to me directly with something, and I'll just draft the documents, whereas before, for Janet's help and others, I think that they were reaching out to Ronnie to draft those documents, and now there's less of a need for that. So when we entered into the contract and the agreement, there was more of a need for that work, and then as we've kind of developed from there, we've been doing a lot of the work in-house, so what we once were spending the extra money on, we no longer need to. I don't know the answer to how often other employees have reached out. My guess would be, based on what I know, maybe a handful of times last year, but
We could get that information from Ronnie, just like basics, and send it.
But that still seems like that's available
Oh, yeah.
to them.
even if it was on an hourly rate, I think it would still be saving us money versus
Right.
having
Right.
14,000 retainer.
I think as long as that option is still available, then
Do we want to formalize that by having the 3 options, 2 contacts in-house and 1 out-of-house if there's an issue, and we can just leave it at that?
Yeah.
Is that okay? That
Yeah.
sounds good? Okay. And thank you for finding a way to save us even just a few $1,000s. It's much appreciated. Okay, I think for finance, those are all of the finance and general government resolutions and items for discussion. Anybody else have anything for finance? Okay, so we're actually going to move right into the resolutions for the agenda meeting, and we'll start with public safety.
Well, if you go through the
Oh,
finance,
I'm
public
sorry.
safety is
See
next
what?
if
See,
you go
this
to
is why
agenda.
next month we're going to consolidate it. But if you want to go first, you can.
Keep you on your toes.
Yeah. See.
Good evening. Number 15 on the agenda is a resolution to adopt changes to the town's peddlers and solicitors code. I know Town Attorney Finnan and Town Clerk Michelle Martinelli have been working on some language with a registry and things of that nature, and that's going to be adopted with this resolution. Number 16 is a resolution to call for a public hearing regarding a town code change that would create a school speed zone on Rosendale Road. We've been talking about this in police and public safety for the better part of a year now. We're sort of ready to move forward with it. I had spoken to the county previously. They were in support of it. They actually sent me some information for us to look at with regards to how to create a school zone and that kind of a road. So yeah, we're going to call for a public hearing to do that and sort of hopefully slow down some speeds on Rosendale Road. We had done some data analysis in that area. And what I spoke about to that with regard to it was that during the peak volume times, sort of in the drop off and pickup times or thereabouts, that was when the speeds were sort of in excess of 40 miles an hour. So it just kind of reaffirms what the neighbors have been saying with regards to speeds on those roads, on that specific road during those times.
Are we going to be lowering the speed limit then
Yes.
in those areas
Yes.
to 25,
It would actually be to 20.
20?
20 mile an hour is what the school zone
Is
is.
the school zone?
Yep.
Okay,
And it
what
would-
about signage, lights? Are we doing anything like that?
So there are different options that we have to discuss, and that's prescribed through the manual for traffic control. That's sort of what the county had sent me. There are different options. My initial reaction, Ray and I spoke about it many months ago, would be to go with the same signage that we currently have in sort of the other town roads with regards to speed zones, where it just simply states that it's a school zone, at 20 mile an hour posted, and then it's got the time limits. I believe it's 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., I think is what the school zone is. I have the code back there, but just modeling what we currently have in our town code with regards to the zones. So
Who maintains the signs? Is that us or the county?
we would probably be the ones maintaining the signs if we were doing this. Yes.
Would they have lights? They wouldn't have lights though, right? We wouldn't,
I haven't had any conversation with anyone about lights.
we'd have to talk to the county and see if they could help us out, maybe.
He's shaking his head no.
I'm of the mindset that I'm not a
Lights would
traffic
also go
engineer.
into people's houses,
Yeah.
so you have to be careful with.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like even just having the sign itself without the flashing lights, is
Yes.
better than nothing. So,
Yes. I think those details need to kind of be hashed up on the same. time
Yeah.
more. So-
well, and so then maybe, yeah, this is good. We'll have the public hearing so people who live in and around that area could come and talk with us about what they think.
And then number 17 is a resolution to surplus firearms. We're surplusing to transition out of our old firearms into new firearms that were budgeted for this year. This just gives us the authorization to trade these in as a credit to continue that cycle through to buy new handguns for all of our police officers. That was, again, previously budgeted for. So, and that's all I have.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll jump back on the second agenda for the agenda meeting, and we'll go to water, sewer, and engineering.
Okay, I had one item that I was going to add at finance. It was the approval of the warrant for the second half of last year for the residential and commercial utility bills. I didn't have the information I needed at the time of my public works meeting, but I want to be able to get this in so that we don't miss any deadlines as far as mailing out bills.
Okay.
So as far as the agenda items, a tentative resolution to authorize an independent contractor agreement for help in the engineering office. This was to help transition from former administrative assistant in the office. I haven't heard back from her recently, so I'm going to leave it on there. And if she does show interest still, I just want to leave that as an option.
I hope she's on vacation somewhere amazing.
I don't want to bother her if
I know,
she's
right?
happy. The next one is a resolution to authorize a fence easement agreement for 1905 Union Street. This is a fence and a sanitary sewer easement. This is just our standard agreement, stating that if we have to do any work in there, they just have to be have to know that we may or may not have to take the fence down to do the work.
Okay.
Next item is a tentative resolution to appoint a maintenance worker in the water and sewer crew. I have a couple applicants. I have one that's currently being reviewed by civil service, and hopefully I can appoint at the next board meeting. I'll pass around the name if everything looks good. Currently have 3 openings in the crew, so looking to fill that, especially before we get busy in the spring. The next one is a resolution to award a contract to repair the gas piping at the sewer plant. I was able to get a very good price with a contractor. Trying to work out the details. If we can make it work, I would like to try to award a contract this month. Next one is a tentative resolution to enter into a contract for UV disinfection work at the wastewater treatment plant. This would be to purchase materials that we need to do maintenance and repair on the system, and potentially work with the vendor to do some install on some of the work equipment. The dollar amount may require a resolution, so once I have the final quote, I'll be able to share that information. And the next one is a resolution to authorize the replacement of a pump at the Water District 3 Pump House on Walltown Road. This is the second pump. We replaced the first one earlier this year. This was budgeted for in this year's budget. The cost of the work will be $34,085, and the pump that it is being replaced is 40 years old. So I think we got our worth out of the pump. And I just wanted to add, I know Ray has a resolution on for surplusing equipment. I may have some equipment to add to the list. So, any questions? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Highway, Parks and Recreation, I think we're just gonna chat through most of highway. The first one is a resolution for the seasonal workers for that. Oh, no,
That's
that's
Ray's
Oh
seasonal
my
workers.
gosh, so she really doesn't have anything today. Wow, okay, go ahead.
Really streamlining this meeting, aren't
Well, I'm trying.
you?
I am trying.
Resolution to hire seasonal workers. So I turned in 7 names to Janet to get to you, Elena. I believe 5 of them are returners that we had previously, college students, and I believe 2 of them were younger, new hires that turned in applications. So we have 7 to start out with. We're doing these now. Colleges let out at all different times. So as they come back, they still have to do their paperwork and all their stuff. So that gives them a little leisure if they're here on break and they can start it. It gets them working when they get out of school.
Great.
Number 8, a resolution authorize extensions for paving, milling services. This is our last year on the rollovers. So this is the 3rd year. A couple of the bidders did not re-up extend, but we have enough coverage because every bid had a first and a reserve bidder that we accepted when we did the bid. So all our services are covered. So with the couple that had bowed out, we're still okay for this season without having to go out to bid. Because obviously, if we did, prices would be up. So we're good at holding for 3 years at them prices. So that's a benefit to us.
Great.
Number 9, a resolution to authorize surplus of town-owned equipment. Couple more pieces that we came up with as our new equipment comes in. We want to get these resoed so that once our new stuff is upfitted, we can get this stuff sold, get the money back into the budget. So number 10 is a contract to award for seed fertilizer, hydro mulch for use in the highway department. This is just our yearly quotes for seeding treatments on sports fields and just our everyday commodities that we use for our own work, hydro seeding and stuff along the highway after paving, seeding, and doing our right-of-ways. So Elena has them as well. Number 11 is tentative resolution to award for mowing contracts at Baker Avenue Park. So this is probably going to go to next month for finance, seeing that it is only a quote for this. And I pushed the start date to the end of April. So if we can do it at April's finance, it should be in line to start the season with that. Any questions? Perfect.
Thanks,
Thank
Ray.
you.
Economic Development, Historic Preservation, Environmental Conservation.
Okay, so number 12 is a carryover from last month, the resolution to support the creation of an underground railroad byway through Niskayuna. We talked about this at our Economic Development Committee meeting. It's an organization that's trying to build a byway from New York City to Buffalo, swoops down into Auburn to get to Harriet Tubman's house. And Niskayuna is a good place for them to put the byway through. I think it would basically overlap with our Erie Canal byway. And the one thing that it did say is that we can't put billboards up along the byway, but we don't allow billboards in our town anyway. So, recommended. After that, we have a resolution to recognize Arbor Day. We are doing a ceremonial resolution recognizing how hard Market 32 worked on their landscaping in our town center overlay district this summer. They basically redid the whole thing. They watered it. They used native species. They had a bunch of meetings with the tree council. The tree council really wanted to honor how hard they worked and how good it looks and how they maintained it. And so we can do that ceremonial. We want to do a press release and just get the word out about what a great job they did and how important that is to our town center. And then we can do a resolution to recognize Arbor Day is a month early, but that way it's coming like a little bit ahead of time and we can announce some of the things that we want to do there. We're trying to make it an Arbor Fest this year and have music and a food truck and a bunch of other things. So we're really excited about it. And we can do those resolutions. And then also not on the agenda, but we're talking about the CAC finished their natural resources inventory for phase 2 under the DEC grant, and they'd like to do a presentation highlighting what they found. So Ashok would like to do a presentation at the beginning of the meeting at the end of the month. And then 14 is a resolution to appoint a member to the Historic Preservation Committee. I just tried an email for you guys that I've never tried, but her name is Carol McCarthy, I believe. And I just got her resume, so I sent it over to you. So take a look and see about that. I know the Historic Preservation Committee can use a number of people, so just let me know if that's okay.
For Ashok's presentation, how much time are we thinking for him? Did he mention?
So he's just going to do highlights, and I'm sure that he can stay within a time limit if you want to give him one. I wouldn't think he'd go over 10 to 15 minutes, but if you've got,
Usually we do 5 to 7.
oh,
Usually don't-
I can tell him that.
We could always have him do like a printout too if he has more that he can't share and wants to share with the rest of the board. Does he need the screen?
Yeah, he will need the screen. You want to stick
I
it
think
5
we-
to 7?
Well, I mean, 7 seems reasonable. Am I wrong?
It's a lucky
Tell him
number.
we're gonna have the stopwatch up here.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can flash the lights on him. He won't be offended. Yeah, I'm sure he can create a thing if you really want to dive into it. It's like 200 pages long, so
Oh, wow.
he'll try to really condense it down to like the high points.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure we're prepared. All right.
Okay.
We're good to go. I think we went over the last section, appoint a Board of Assessment Review member, budgetary modifications, new phone system, new IT systems tech. Does anybody have anything else before I adjourn? All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're adjourned.